public, if you want to make any public comment about any item, whether it be on the agenda or not, please email Kendall Reed. Kendall, if you want, you can put your email in the chat for those that might be needing it right now. But that would be Kendall Reed at orcity.org. And that's KENDALLREID at orcity.org, and email Kendall. And when we get to that agenda item, we'll be sure to give you an opportunity to speak. Or if it is about something not on the agenda, then here in just a few minutes, we'll give you a chance to speak as well. By way of introductions, the introductions are always hard on Zoom because normally we go around the room, but the best way to do it on Zoom is kind of the way I see it on my screen. But by the time I see it on my screen, I've already said your name, so I've already done the introduction for you. So I'm just going to call your name and then just wave so that, you know, everybody on the other side of the screen can at least see who you are. So just across the top of the screen we'll go to PrAC members, and then we'll do the other introductions as appropriate on the agenda. So just for PrAC members, we have Sean Dashler and Brent, if you want to wave, Jeff and Tim, Derek, Andy, I see you, Karen.
Yep.
And that's all I'm seeing on my screen for PrAC members. We should have everybody. So appreciate everybody being here and joining us. I know some of you, this is spring break, so some of you are visiting us from out of town, and some of you may have just gotten in town, and some of you, me included, are still at home. So I'm not even going to ask who is not with us and where you're at, just to spare the rest of us. So just know that we appreciate you tuning in wherever you might be. So thank you. Approval of the minutes. So you've all had your packet, had a chance to go through the information on the minutes. And are there any questions for clarification, items of clarification for the minutes?
Nope. This is Karen. I move approval of the minutes.
Hang on, we're not ready for the motion yet.
Why not?
My question was, does anybody have any questions about what is on the minutes? Any questions or comments, anything for clarification?
No.
No? Everybody's okay?
Minutes so made.
Okay. Is there a motion?
This is Andy. A motion to approve.
We have a
I
second.
second.
That was Andy with the motion, and Tim with the second. Okay. I don't think we need to vote on that, do we? We just move on. We're good. Okay. Kendall, did you get any public comment coming through for anything that's not on the agenda?
No.
Nope. Okay. So moving on to presentations, general business. First item is 2021 Heritage Tree nominations for Mountain View Cemetery.
Troy.
And Edie is
Troy,
here
sorry,
to-
it's Karen. I have a question before you run by this. Kendall, have you heard
Is it
anything?
about
from-
hang on a second, Karen. Karen, hold on a second. Is your question about something in the minutes?
No, it's about public comment.
Okay.
Kendall, have you heard anything from the Park Place people about the easement through the park?
I will include that in my update. I do have an update on Park Place and the presentation that was given for the
Okay.
Park Place Neighborhood
Yeah.
Association.
Yeah,
I thought that was going to come up under public comment tonight, but
No,
thank you.
no. Kendall mentioned there's no public comment that had come in, so let's stick with our agenda and we'll get to that when we get to staff reports. There was no public comment that came in. So 2021 Heritage Tree nominations for Mountain View Cemetery, and Dee Dee is here for that presentation. Dee Dee, it's all you.
Oh, I thought actually, Peter Walters usually does these. I was just going to give public comment on support of it. But I will do the 2 Camperdown elm trees that are located at Mount View Cemetery. First of all, I want to say thank you to Stephen Detz and Karen Morley, who did the historical research on the Joy Clark Cemetery and or lot, and then the David Penman lot. And that's where the 2 Camperdown elm trees are. I won't get into the uniqueness of Camperdown elm trees, but at the turn of the century, they were very, very popular in this area because they were discovered in Scotland. So you'll find a lot of them, very interestingly, around Oregon City. We have 2 incredible specimens that weathered the storm beautifully. And they're both estimated anywhere from 90 years to 117 years. I use 2 different type of calculations. One is a German website and the other is an American website. And they both estimate above or below 10%. And so they average out very nicely. These are able to be dated by the dates of the headstones. The Joy Clark one dates anywhere from 1906 to 1922, and the Stephen Detz is 1906, David Penman. Gravesite dates at 1906, and he had been moved. So most likely that's when that tree was planted, because it comes out to be at about 100 years old, 110 actually on that one. So anyway, I just find that very, very interesting. We have 2 incredible specimens. It would make a nice drive-through going through our city cemetery and our park with the sequoias that are now on the heritage tree too. And then we have a private one coming up of a Camperdown elm tree, and plans for more exciting things for 2021. I'm really excited. So I'll cut it off there because I'll launch into the next thing. If anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer anything. And I'll mute myself.
Thank you, Dee Dee. And I want to apologize, Pete and Dee. That was my mistake. I misunderstood the information I received. So I didn't intend to pass your presentation, Pete, on
That's
to
okay.
Dee Dee. So that was 100% onto me. So Dee Dee, thank you. And Tim, we're going to hold on because public comment is designed just to deliver some information. And then we're going to give Pete the floor now to make his presentation, and then we will open it up for discussion and questions for Pete after he's done, if we have any. So Pete, it's now your turn. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, I'll be brief. I noticed that the actual nominations didn't make it onto the agenda, but I've got them open with the pictures so I can show you the photos that Dee Dee had submitted. So both these nominations, both these trees were reviewed by the Natural Resources Committee on February the 10th, and they unanimously recommended that they be approved as heritage trees. And having met the heritage tree criteria in our city code, chapter 12.32, Karen has submitted also some great history on those for the Clark Joy one. And then we also got some additional information on the Penman information that came in a little late, which I think was attached to your agenda. But without further ado, I will share my screen and you can see what these trees look like. And let me see, there we go. There we go. Can everyone see a tree?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
great.
The beautiful Camperdown.
So this one is in the Clark Joy plot. This is the headstone. This is a more winter shot here. And you can see the amazing branching of those trees. This is in leaf and flower, I believe. So those are the photos for the Clark Joy one. And I'm going to switch over to the Penman plot. Hopefully you'll see this. Did you see the screen switch?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So this is the Penman plot. Really cool silhouette. And those are the main photos that we have of these trees. So they're unique. I believe the scientific name is Ulmus glabra. And you've already heard about the ages from Dee Dee. So NRC is recommending approval. And then your advisory recommendation is needed before these go to the city commission for a final decision. So thank you. And if you have any questions for me, be happy to answer them.
Thank you.
Okay, this is Karen.
Hang on, Karen, please. Thank you, Pete. I appreciate that. And if anybody has any questions, please just either physically raise your hand in the camera and I'll see you, or if you just raise your hand on the using Zoom,
Shall I
that's fine.
stop the
That would be
screen share?
appreciated.
Keep it up.
So Brent, you go ahead, please.
Yeah. Hey, Pete. Thank you. Great presentation and beautiful trees. My question might seem silly, but when these were evaluated, I'm assuming that these trees are dubbed healthy, no disease or anything.
Well, the site and condition criteria in the code are that the tree is not listed as invasive,
Okay.
and that if it is on private property, that it has owner consent. The condition criteria no longer contain a requirement that the trees are healthy. However, by designating them as heritage trees, we're acknowledging that there's some maintenance responsibility associated with these already being taken care of by the park staff. They've lasted a long time already, despite lots of adverse conditions. If it were private property, the owner's consent would be necessary. In this situation, the city commission is the final decision maker, and any removal that may be necessary would have to be acknowledged or agreed to by the city commission. But basically, by heritage tree designation, we're acknowledging that we're going to do our very best to maintain these trees. And the only situation that would necessitate their removal would be if they were a true hazard to something or somebody, as documented in a professional arborist report. We don't require an arborist report for designation anymore. It's based on the heritage criteria and the recommendation from the Natural Resources Committee.
Thank you.
Sure, I hope that explained
It was very helpful.
Okay.
Tim, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you. Pete, cool pictures there. It's amazing that that tree is 100 years old. First, I have two questions. The first is, do you have a list that's accessible that everybody could look at of all the heritage trees in Oregon City?
We have a list, but we need to update our website to include everything that has been designated so far. Right now, if you go to the city website, there's only 4 private nominations and 1 heritage stand, which is Waterboard Park. But recently, we also approved the private nominations from 2019, which took a while, but and then Park Place Park and the 3 sequoias already that are in Mountain View Cemetery. So I need to update the website to include all of the pictures that have been submitted for those. We also want to map them on OCU Web Map so that there's a layer that people can pop up and see geographically where the locations are so they can go by and see them. So that's something I need to get done with the GIS staff as well.
Cool. Pete, that would be really a great thing for the Park and Recs advisory or Park and Recs, in Oregon City. I do have a sad announcement in the fact that we lost one of the heritage trees that's right across the street from my house on Center Street. The big, huge oak tree fell
Oh,
down.
no.
So.
On the Clyde Mount House?
Yes, so
Oh.
that one is at the wood mill right now. So.
Wow, I didn't know
unfortunately,
that.
it's gone. So update the list and look forward to seeing your dots on the map with GIS.
Yeah, we should notify the city commission as well. So,
Actually, excuse me.
Dee Dee,
Yeah,
I'm gonna stop you right there for a second.
okay, thank you.
No, this time right now, Dee Dee, is for PrAC members to ask questions, have a dialogue. The public comment was just at the beginning. So you're welcome to stay and listen though. Tim, did you have any more?
Nope, that's it. Thank you.
All right, Karen?
thanks for letting me know.
Jonathan, these are both small family lots. Any problems for the cemetery?
No, I don't foresee any problems with them.
Thank you.
Okay, PrAC committee members, any other questions, comments? Okay, Pete, so are you looking for something from us tonight, or do you need to get us something else before we're ready for that?
Well, we were recommending approval. You have the option to recommend approval tonight or recommend partial approval, request further information, or don't approve them. You have all those options. I think based on what we've seen, there's evidence to support their nomination moving forward, unless there are some concerns that haven't been addressed that you guys want to talk about more.
Okay.
Okay,
so
Troy, this is
can you,
Karen making a motion.
hang on a second, Karen. So can you just remind us real quick then, after all the discussion, what the two are, just so we're clear on the two nominations you're seeking?
Okay, so the two nominations are for the two Camperdown Elms located in the Clark Joy plot and the Penman plot at Mountain View Cemetery. And these are 2020 nominations, I should say. These aren't 2021 nominations, so.
Okay, and do we have
Apologize for
any
that.
further questions or concerns on those for Pete? Or do we seek any additional information, anything that would prohibit us moving forward tonight? Anything we need from him? Okay, then do we have a motion?
Motion. I move that the Camperdown Elms at the, and I just lost the first names.
Clark
which I
Joy.
testified for. Clark, whatever, and Pemberton lots as nominated by Pete and Dee Dee be approved.
Do we have a second?
This is Andy, I have a second.
So that's a motion by Karen, a second by Andy. And Kendall, I think we got to vote on this one. You want to pull?
All right, Tim West,
Yes, I agree.
Karen Morey,
Aye.
Troy Bollinger,
Aye.
Jeff Sargent,
Aye.
Derek Kogel,
Aye.
Andy Crump,
Aye.
Sean Datchler,
Aye.
and Brent Haverkamp.
Aye.
All right.
All right. Thank you, Pete. Appreciate that.
You're welcome. Thank you, everybody. Have a great evening.
Thank you. Karen, did you have a question or you just haven't taken your hand down yet?
How do we?
Oops, hand not down yet.
Okay,
Just wait.
that's all right. Okay, so next we have our PrAC goals. And, oh, let me pull mine up here. So with the goals, I'm going to turn that over to Sean and Brent. And before they make their presentation, I first want to say thank you for everybody for your participation in this process. I love that we did a good amount of work outside of the meeting. I really believe meetings are to come together and report and discuss and move forward, keeping them short and succinct, and then doing a lot of the legwork and the real grinding, if you will, outside the meeting. And that's what we did here. And I appreciate everyone's input. I think ample time was given to input, and hopefully all of you took some time to and the opportunity to participate in that. And then I appreciate Sean and Brent for heading that up and deliberating over that. Just a reminder for or maybe it's a reminder for some of us, and then just so that it's on, I guess, record, that this was a process that was taken offline to give everyone the chance to give input for the goals and then poll. I'm not going to steal your thunder here, Sean, let you and Brent explain this better, but then poll and bring everything together. But I want to remind PrAC members at this time, Sean and Brent are going to present to us, as you all have already seen, the goals. And then when they're done, if we need questions for clarification, we can certainly do that. And just make sure we all understand what they are. And then, then we'll be looking for a motion for approval of the goals, having already had the opportunity to deliberate, consider, advocate, and everything else. So that time was over the last couple of weeks. So Sean and Brent, it's all up to you.
Thank you.
Well, Brent, you want to go first? Or do you want me to?
I'll let you go first, Sean. Do we want to pull up the goals and show them so we can have them on display?
Yeah.
Kendall,
Kendall, if possible, could you put up the polling slide? So while he's doing that, and this is probably common knowledge to everybody in this group, but maybe to some people watching, we tried taking the conversation offline in the last couple of weeks and just solicit from everybody any topics of concern that they wanted to make known as a possible annual goal. And so we put all those items onto a list. And the idea was that none of them was greater than another, and we were going to start fresh. And I reached out to Kendall and looking for some sort of an electronic way that we could poll everybody, where each person would individually get to rank them. And that way the goal at the end of this would be, hopefully the ranking is a reflection of the whole body and not just 2 or 3 people's efforts. So Kendall mentioned that the City Commission had recently used this sort of method in their goal setting session. So it also seemed appropriate that we were kind of following a similar method. So we put 12 items on the list. That was the limit on the poll. One of them we had to combine. I don't remember which one it was. I think it had to do with, I'm not sure. But anyway, so 12 was the limit, and we put them all on the list. And then we gave everybody about 4 or 5 days to rank them and get that back to us. We got 6 out of 8 of us. So unfortunately, 2 people, we directly missed their input, and I'm sorry about that. But on the other hand, I think we got, with 6 people, each person's going to narrow it down. So I would say this is a pretty good reflection. And I'm comfortable with it. I think in general, each of us individually probably have 2, 3, 4, 5 items that are close to us and more important than others. But I think the whole point of this is it's a reflection of the entire board and not just 1 or 2 members. So I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out. Frankly, I was really nice to get to know Brent and work with him through this process.
Exactly.
Brent,
Thank you,
want to say
Sean.
something?
No, I just wanted to say, I mean, Sean, great summary. Thank you very much. I really enjoyed working with you as well. But the part that I really want to emphasize is that this really needs to be a reflection of how PRAC serves the city of Oregon City's parks and recreation system as a whole. And it's like you said, some of us, all of us probably have personal agenda items that we want to get out there and everything, but I don't think that it is part of PRAC. I think PRAC as a committee should be focused on Oregon City as a community and how we can best serve that community. And so with that, I think that the goals that we came up with, Kendall, if you want to go ahead and pull up the goal slides, these are in order of what that was reflected from the survey. So, and we put these in order. So, but some of them we do have questions on, but the first one that was on the survey was review the 2008 Oregon City Parks Master Plan biannually to determine that all Oregon City neighborhoods are being properly served and to make proper recommendations for any development. And we would like to try and start that by June of this year. So, Sean, do you have anything else that you want to add?
Well, I think the only other thing that I didn't mention is, generally speaking, historically, I would say we've always tried to have 5 to 7 goals and no more, because I think it's really important that we achieve the goals. These aren't dreams or something that are 5 or 10 year plans. This is something that we need to accomplish in the next 24 months. And so we limited this down to 7. It doesn't mean that the 8th or 9th is not important. And hopefully those items would probably show up on the list a little bit down the road as some of these things, for example, Filbert Run naming, that's one that it's very important and it needs to happen very soon, but it could also be easily checked off the list and something else moved up. So that's why the narrowing down to 5 to 7 is just kind of following how we've done it over the years. And I think that's a good number.
It's easy to work with.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess at this point, Troy, I'll look for some direction for you. Do you want us to go through each of these goals right now, or do we want to talk about them one by one, or what would you like to do at this point?
I don't think we need to go through them all. Everyone has been involved in this process, and everyone has received the packet. This is part of public record as well, so anyone from the public can certainly see it. And then once the goals are voted on and approved, then the final will become public as well. So I don't think we need to go on everyone individually. But I think what we do next is see if anybody has any questions of clarity, for clarification they need to ask of any of these goals in particular. And then we can certainly address those. Karen, I see you have your hand up.
I do, and I'm going to try to keep this short.
You went mute, Karen.
That was really short, Karen. You said you were going to keep it short and then muted yourself.
It really tells me that it's too soon to get to that. So thank you.
Karen?
What's up?
Karen, we heard nothing of what you said.
Oh, sorry, my phone was ringing. So starting with Sean and Brent, incredible job. Number one, the Parks Master Plan. Okay, Master Plan is 12 years old. We have discussed in the past that we need to come up with a new one. But given some other priorities, I think it's good to continue to review it for now. We have at least 3 issues on this list that I think are very important that will take an RFP and a consultant. And as long as we're consulting with Kendall and understanding the city budget, what he has available, I think you guys did an incredible job. I am impressed. So thank you. I am going to vote for this.
Thank you, Karen.
But you'll also hear from me later about something else.
Any other questions from PrAC members on looking for clarity, questions of clarification? Andy, you had your hand up.
Yes. Well, I'm one of the guilty folks that wasn't able to participate. I had a few things going on. But I do thank everyone else for being involved there. I'm curious, we're planning on implementing some of these to discuss at our monthly, regular monthly meetings. It'd be a line item essentially, right? Yep, okay.
Yes.
Yep, that's all I need.
You know, let me jump in there, Andy. One of the things, the flaws with the goals, I think, in the past have been, we spend a lot of time in January, February, and March, and we approve goals. And then to be honest with you, they sit in the filing cabinet for the rest of the term. And then a year later, we start them over again. And I love how they're formatted now. I think that's Troy and Brent's place mostly. They can be credited with that. But I really like the fact that this is setting out a roadmap, something we need to follow as a guide. And to Karen's point, if we don't have funding for the RFP, I'm not as concerned about that, but I think that this is important because it tells the commission, it tells staff that it's important to PrAC. So it helps maybe guide those funds during budgeting processes.
No, I like the idea of having this set up on a calendar item for our monthly meetings. I think it's a great idea. So good.
Any other PrAC members with questions for clarification?
Tim has a question.
No,
Okay.
Just came back. Thank you.
Saw your hand.
Okay. Then if we don't have any more questions for clarification, do we have a motion?
Hi, Brent Haverkamp, motion.
Oh, sorry. Go.
Motion for what? Approval, I assume?
Motion for approval of the goals.
Okay, do we have a second?
I second. It's Karen.
We heard her.
Aaron, I think I heard you second, but you're kind of muted a little bit. Was that you?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay, so we have Brett with the motion, Karen with the second. Kendall, you want to poll?
All right. Tim West,
Yes.
Karen Morey,
Aye.
Troy Bollinger,
Aye.
Jeff Sargent,
Aye.
Derek Kugel,
Aye.
Andy Crum,
Aye.
Sean Datchler,
Aye.
Brent Haverkamp.
Aye.
All right.
Now, before we move on from the goals, Sean said this very, very well. And it's been mentioned, I think Andy, you had mentioned it, I know you mentioned it as well, that we can't now stick these in a drawer, put them in a book and move on. There are some pieces in here and each goal looks a little bit different, but some of them have a deadline of by a certain date. Others are beginning at a certain date. Others are how many times per year and so forth. And so now what we need to do is go through here and make sure that we have these kind of scheduled out to make sure that we're not coming in October and realize that we have not done what we said we're going to do and go to Kendall and say, hey, can you get us these 8 reports for our November meeting so we've done them and can do what we said we're going to do for these goals and get them done by the end of the year, right, for our November meeting? So we got to make sure we're not doing that, and we got to make sure that we're effective with this. There's also some goals in here that a number of pieces have to be put into place before we can accomplish the goal. We're talking about RFP. There's the subcommittees and different things. We can't just go out and create a subcommittee tomorrow. There's going to be some pieces that have to be laid and put in place before we can get to that point. So the next step for getting these accomplished is to kind of go through here and make sure that we kind of put these on the calendar, if you will, and see if what, I don't want to call them loose ends, but see if what maybe steps need to be taken before each goal can be accomplished. So I would like, Andy, if you would be willing, and Derek, if you would be willing to join me, and the three of us take it from here and work together to go through these and kind of assign dates and tasks for future agenda items, and work with Kendall if there's some, steps that we need help with, or we need involvement from other departments to make sure we can accomplish that goal. Would the two of you be available and willing to join me with that? Andy, yes. Derek?
Yep.
Yeah, no problem.
Perfect.
At a future
Perfect.
date, right? Not tonight?
Not tonight.
Okay.
I'll reach out to you guys, and we can, maybe the three of us meet in person. Maybe we can do some Zoom. We'll just figure out what's going to work. And our goal is to come back. And these goals are they're in place, so we're doing them. So we're not pushing it off. They've been put in motion today, but then the next step is just kind of what does that look like, and what is that going to do for us, going forward for the rest of the year. So we'll come back at the next meeting with that information. We won't need a vote. There's not going to need be any kind of motion that's necessary. We'll just have some kind of a game plan as far as what that's going to look like, so we can make sure we stay on task with that. Does that make sense for everybody?
Sounds good.
Perfect. All right. Thank you for the help on that. And thank you again, Sean and Brent. So next is our member reports, and getting into member reports. Karen, is your hand up again or still? If you're talking, I can't hear you. Okay. So member reports, and reminder of member reports. This is an opportunity for each of the members of PrAC, if you have something to report on, to share it with the group. And not all of us are going to have something to report on, that's okay. This is not a time to bring a topic of discussion to the table, because that would be an agenda item that should have already been put on the agenda, or if it needs to be brought up, we can put it on for a future agenda item, which we'll get to. So this is not a discussion time. This is just simply a report time, if you have to take just a few minutes and give everybody a report. So let's stick to keep the integrity of our agenda here and stay with that. So with that, we're going to go as it appears on my screen. And I'm going to ask Jeff, do you have a report to give?
No, I'm good.
Okay, Brent?
I'm good.
Derek?
No, not tonight.
Tim?
No report today.
Sean?
Just a quick topic really for everybody as a report. Oftentimes we'll bring up things in the city. We visit a new park or an old area that we notice an issue. And if you haven't driven by Tyrone S. Woods Park recently, it's pretty amazing. It's not completed yet, but you can see a lot of the work that's done. And I would highly encourage each of you to go out there. Each of us are from a different neighborhood association, or I think no more than two of us from one. And myself, my nearest park is 2.5 miles away until this park is completed. So some of you that live closer to down into the core might have, 5 or 10 parks near your house, but a lot of us up on the top, This is an area that has been underserved for 2 decades. Many of those homes paid SDCs in, starting back in 1998, 1999, that essentially purchased this land and paid for the park. So they're getting their due after about 20 years, but I would encourage each of you to take a drive by and check it out. And I think Kendall, of course, but Denise Conrad specifically needs to be commended because she's been the project manager for it, and it is just amazing. It's really well done. That's all.
It is very well done. Thank you, Sean. Karen, do you have a report for us?
Okay, this is under the.
Your audio is very, very, very faint. It's almost a whisper.
Okay. Got it. Now?
No. We can barely hear you. It's not even going to pick up on the recording, I can promise you.
Sounds like a Bluetooth device connected to it.
You're probably on an iPhone. That's probably the problem.
Oh, no, no iPhone. I didn't use that one. It's a Samsung. All right, now? Can you hear it?
Do you want to try getting out and coming right back in?
Okay, I haven't had this problem with it before. I have a problem that, okay, I'm a member of CIC. And CIC got put under the charter and got their bylaws taken away. I was surprised to find that Parks and Rec Advisory Committee has a purpose of, the purpose of the committee is to advise the director and make recommendations to the city commission.
Karen, are you giving a report or is this a topic of discussion?
No, well, because I couldn't get it in earlier, I was trying to get it in.
Okay, this is not the time for that. We're going to stick to a
Thank you,
report.
Troy.
This is the time for member reports. So if you want to have a discussion, that's fine. And we're going to get that on the agenda for our next meeting. But this is not the time for a discussion because it's member reports.
As a sole remaining female member of this committee, I would like to point out.
Female or male, everyone's treated the same. And we're going to keep it with the member reports. We're going to stick with member reports because that's what we're talking about. So if you have no report as a member, then we're going to go move. Andy, do you have a report for us?
No.
Okay. Kendall, staff reports is up to you.
All right. So I have an update on Park Place. I attended the Park Place Neighborhood Association meeting with Laura Turway, the Community Development Director, to talk about what's happening at Park Place with the development of that piece of property. From that conversation, they did decide to provide public comment to the City Commission, and it was agreed that we will come back to the City Commission in the month of April with options so we can mitigate any impact this development might have on Park Place and the park. So there'll be some additional information coming up in April on kind of what our options are and how we're going to move forward on that. Also, today I did send out an email to everyone with the list of the 8 applicants who applied for the vacant position on PRAC. And so I did include interview questions, interview procedures for you to review. And tonight, I just wanted the opportunity to have a conversation with all of you to talk about setting up a time on April 22nd to do a work session to bring them in for an interview. Other than that, if you want to talk about the timing of doing something like that, we can talk about that right now. If not, we can move on to the other reports.
Do any of your other reports need any kind of discussion? From us, anyway?
It shouldn't. Denise will be providing a report on the capital projects, the parks, and the construction of the parks. And John will be providing a report on the status of the ice storm cleanup.
Yeah, I guess let's just do that now. I mean, since you're there now at that point in your reports. Brent, you have a question about this topic?
Yeah, I do. It actually comes back to the Park Place report that you brought up, Kendall. Sorry, just want a point of clarification. In the April meeting where options are going to be discussed, was that City Commission or in the PrAC?
It's City Commission.
Okay.
Because they wanted it to be brought back to the City Commission.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so Kendall, are you asking basically at this point just a time that's going to work for everybody on the 22nd?
Yes, a time that's going to work for everyone. Normally with our work sessions, we've scheduled those an hour before this meeting. Obviously, we have 8 applicants, so it's going to take possibly a longer time to get all of those scheduled in. So we might need a little bit more time, maybe a start time at around 5:30, or we could start at 6 and go a bit later. But I just wanted to kind of pose that question to everybody to figure out what works.
Yeah, I think in the past, and even it indicates even on the questions that you sent, we typically gave 15 minutes to each applicant. Now, if I remember right, 15 might actually be a little bit more than is necessary. So maybe we don't need that much. Maybe we can get away with 10 minutes per applicant. And, math says that's 80 minutes. So 5:30, and maybe that's plenty of time. I don't know. What does everyone else think if we do a 5:30 work session on the 22nd of April?
Sounds good to me.
I would prefer starting earlier rather than going later. So that would work for me.
Yeah, me too.
All right.
Well, and even if we start later, it, I think might affect, giving public notice, and some of our other people who are oftentimes planning on joining us. Some of the people plan on attending PrAC meetings for specific topics, and also staff members who join us, probably set aside, 7 o'clock on this particular time. I don't want to mess that up for them as well. So, to your point, Brent, I think earlier might be the better way.
All right.
So do we want to just do that and just 5:30 to 7 and just every 10 minutes stack them up?
Yep.
Okay.
I'll get that information, that schedule out to everyone after we get those scheduled.
Okay. And then I was going to ask you on that, and I haven't looked at every application, but I noticed you did, some of it's redacted, address and such. But did you leave on there the neighborhood association they represent?
Now, when I receive those, the city recorder redacts all the information that should be redacted and provides that information to me. I can do some research on the neighborhood association and provide that information. But due to the fact that it was only one position, it shouldn't conflict with any person on here right now in regards to neighborhood associations.
Oh, okay. Because that was my other thing, is we got to make sure that we're within our bylaws of how many, but you're telling me, because I don't know off the top of my head, the neighborhood association for all of our members. But you're telling me that there won't be a conflict no matter who we chose.
You're right. Right.
Okay. Sean, did you have input with that?
Well, I was just going to question that. I can't believe that there's no neighborhood that doesn't have at least 2 here, but maybe I'm mistaken.
And what I can do, I can reach out to the city recorder and provide that information. But the thought was, since you can have like 2 from a neighborhood, that shouldn't be a problem here, but I'll double check on that.
And then we can do one, I think, at large. And so that allows for some overlap, which might make it okay, but we should probably check to be sure.
Yeah, my thought on that, if I may, Troy, was just that if if there's one neighborhood, for example, that already has two, then anybody on that list is an automatic, let's not waste our time in theirs. So,
Right.
you could really trim it down possibly if we found that out ahead of time.
Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting at is let's not drag them in here if they're not eligible just because of their neighborhood association.
Okay. I'll look into that. All right. So tonight I have Denise Conrad, who's going to provide an update on the construction of the parks. Denise is currently wrapping up the TSW construction and DC Lottery construction, while at the same time helping me get started the Filbert Run Park construction and the joint facility with Public Works and Parks. So she's extremely busy. So Denise, without further ado, I'll turn it over to you.
Good evening, PrAC members. I'm going to give you just a short update in regards to each of these elements of our capital projects. It would just be a continuation of information from your actual report that Kendall had already provided. So Tyronis Woods, the playground installation is about 95% complete of the actual structure, and that includes the nest swing. So the log scramble and the nest swing are in place. We just have some fine tuning and some items that need to be finished out in that installation, as well as all of the engineered chips. And those engineered chips will go into the playground area as well as the pull-up area. We did go through and punch list the park this week. So we have a draft list that we're all vetting, and then that will go to the contractor. We have secured security cameras for the park site that'll be installed on the restroom, and those will get installed on the 31st of this month. And then the only other thing that we're still kind of waiting on is the vehicle accident, working through the insurance, and also getting a confirmed time for the light poles. Those are a long lead item. And then we did remove a large oak off of the park site from the adjacent property that smashed the fencing panels. Those fencing panels will get replaced, as well as some of the planting items that were damaged from the storm, the trees or plants themselves. So we're working through that list as well for the storm damage. DC Lotterette, the basketball court painting and striping is currently scheduled for the 14th of April through the 15th, and that's really weather dependent. So those are the targets on the schedule. But again, if it doesn't happen, then it's based on the weather dependency. There's new frontage to DC Lotterette off the sidewalk and curbing and into the park now. And then there's a little bit of asphalt that should have been infilled up to the new curbs today. They started installing the railings this week on the back portion, kind of by the stormwater swale and the playground. So that's a new item that we'll start seeing, hopefully completed by the end of next week. And then we are also punch listing next week for DC Lotterette Park, which will be the list that we make for the contractor for any missed items or corrections. And then lastly, Filbert Run, we've moved from the 60% drawings towards 90% drawings, and those will be, the 90% will contain some of the conditions that came from our draft land use review notations. So that will be the next thing that the staff will review, are those 90% drawings. We did have some trees that were damaged in the storm. That ice storm took down a few trees, as well as we have some trees damaged beyond savability, and we'll make notations of those trees that have been damaged or lost in our plan sets. And we're working with planning with that kind of criteria as well. So that's really all I've got for you guys. And Sean, thank you again for the accolades. I really appreciate it.
All right, John, you want to give an update on the ice storm damage at the parks?
Yeah, so at this point in time, we have 17 parks that are completely cleaned up and clear. Most of the brush that came down in the storms has all been cleaned up. We're wrapping up our contracts with the contractors that have been helping us up doing the brush removal. Mostly what we have still left to do is small amounts of brush removal, and then hangers in trees. So this is going to be a very time-consuming process, because all those trees that have a broken branch in them, but they're still connected, are going to have to be climbed. And so we're working to get that all lined out. Some of the more significant parks with damage were Waterboard Park, had a significant amount of damage. Singer Creek Park, and then the cemetery had a lot of significant tree damage to it. So anyways, that's just kind of a quick update of where we're at as far as getting the parks all cleaned up and ready to go. I did want to also mention on March 13th, we had 2 events, and I use that word lightly. We did a cleanup with the McLaughlin Neighborhood Association up on the promenade, off of the parking lot at the VFW hall. We filled up 17 bins with weeds. So really appreciate Lisa Haynes and her efforts to help coordinate and get the community out there. It was an absolutely wonderful event. It really, it just goes to show that even in the midst of these difficult times, the community's stepping up and helping out and doing beautification. So I really appreciate everyone who showed up on the 13th to help us out with weed pulling. The other event was a beautification project that was put on by Jerry Herman down at Clackamas Park. He worked with the JROTC, and they utilized some of the mulch that came from the cleanup process down there at Clackamas Park, and planted bulbs and native plantings around some of the trees down there. And we also ended up planting, I want to say in the realm of about 20 cedar trees as well. So really appreciate his efforts to help coordinate that, and really looking forward to seeing the bulbs starting to pop up here in the next weeks. So yeah, and if anyone has any questions in regards to the ice storm or the cleanup, just let me know.
Thanks, John. Rochelle, do you have any updates from Aquatics and Recreation?
Yeah, just really quick. First of all, good evening, everyone. Just letting everybody know the camps are full this week for spring break. So it's our first full camp that we've had. So that's exciting, COVID safe camps. And then we added a second one at the Pioneer Center in the basement. So thank you, Kathy, for sharing your space with us to accommodate a wait list. And then the pool's open and we're busy. And we're excited. We're excited that we're providing services again for the community, and we're continuing to provide COVID safe virtual recreation programs and activities. So looking forward to hopefully continually moving forward. So thank you. That's it.
Thanks, Rochelle. How about you, Kathy?
Hang on, I'm unmuting. Hello, everybody. It's great to see you all. Well, I have a mole in one of Rochelle's camps at the Pioneer Center. So we sent in my 6-year-old grandson to really see what was what with these camps. And I'm happy to report that Rochelle's camps got a 5-star rating from 6-year-old Jasper. So he is very pleased and has asked specifically that these camps last forever. So thank you, Rochelle, and your really great staff. the update for the senior center. We continue to be really busy despite being closed to the public. We're still delivering record numbers of meals and personal supplies and those kinds of things. We sent out Chinese food this week from Pine Garden as part of our grant. They're really pleased with the services that we're providing. We have 2 buses online. We've implemented the foot clinic back into the Pioneer Center. And we're looking at summer for doing some outdoor recreation. It makes it really, it's mental calisthenics really with, we're going from low risk to medium risk to high risk, back to moderate risk. And then I read yesterday that Clackamas County might go back to high risk. So for the senior center, we're really in a holding pattern until things just get a little safer. But I'm happy to report that a lot of our seniors are getting vaccinated. They're opening up vaccines in Clackamas County. So I'm hoping for a safer summer, a little more creative summer. I did have a question, if it's okay to ask. On the PrAC goals, I was interested in the volunteer coordinator position, or what that meant. I don't know if that's a Kendall question or a PrAC question, or a Sean question.
I'm happy to take it. It was a new topic that was submitted by somebody else to put on the list and gained and made its way onto the list. I'm not sure who that was. Do you remember, Brent?
I do not remember who that was.
If you did, speak up. I think it might have been Tim West.
I was thinking it was Tim, but I don't remember for sure.
Yeah, Tim West is my guess. And I basically liked the idea and supported it as well, but maybe if Tim could explain it better, Kathy, he's probably the was it you?
You, Tim.
I'm sorry, Kathy, repeat the question right there. I'm sorry, I had it on lower volume.
That's okay. I was curious about the goal setting for PrAC, and one of the goals was the volunteer coordinator. And I wasn't sure if you folks were looking at that as a city paid position that you were going to advocate for, or like a lead volunteer position that you were going to give a stipend to, or just what that really meant, or if it's just something that you want to look at further.
Kathy, I thought that the volunteer coordinator was a great idea because the parks need so much volunteer work and maintenance, cleanup, and all this kind of stuff. Whether there's a stipend or paid, I mean, that's a Kendall question right there. But I just thought that there's an abundance of work, and our staff is pretty spread very thin. And I know that John could probably point a group of volunteers in many different directions to go ahead and do ancillary stuff that we're paying people to get done. And I bet you there's a whole bunch of people out there that want to volunteer and clean up our city. So, and as shown in last week's Optimist Club cleaning up of the McLaughlin neighborhood group. So I don't know whether.
Tim.
Yep.
I think it's a great idea. I just was curious about it. So thanks for talking about that. I really want to thank John and his crew, the Pioneer Center. While we're only one city block, the ice storm, it just shredded trees. I mean, we've had trees there since the place was opened 4 years ago. And they just really took a great deal of care to clean up and save what they could, and were thoughtful. And it's been pretty devastating, but we'll replant and carry on. So thank you guys for serving, and I appreciate getting time to talk to you.
Thanks, Cassie. That concludes our update for Parks and Rec.
Thank you, Kendall. Future agenda items. I didn't take any notes, or didn't have anything that I wrote down that I grabbed from any comments that were made that I captured as indications of future agenda items, but does anyone from PrAC have anything that they would like to have added as a future agenda item?
I do.
Tim,
So I was up at the Hillendale Parks area just last week with my grandson playing on the playgrounds up there, and noticed that the restrooms are closed. And I was wondering if the park board here could go ahead and make a priority of keeping the restrooms open during park hours, so that, you know, hell, there was I caught a kid peeing right in the middle of the play park. It's like, kid, don't do that. Go over there. It's like, it was because the restroom was closed. So if indeed the park board could make a priority of that.
so is that something you're asking to have something on the agenda for that?
Well, if it's agenda item, I don't know, this is more of a Kendall question. I mean, what does it take?
That'll just take a second. So John and I and Denise have been having a conversation about the restrooms, and obviously with COVID, we've been having to utilize porta potties a lot more. And then now we've been trying to make a transition to get some of these restrooms reopened. One of the issues that we had with the OHA guidelines were the requirements in regards to sanitation associated with those restrooms. So John has been working really hard on trying to get some of those restrooms open. But obviously some of those restrooms are places where we have issues with transients or vandalism. And so we've been trying to be strategic in regards to which ones that we're reopening and which ones are getting a lot of use. For instance, sports fields reservations, we need additional restrooms. So we're trying to make sure that we have those up and running. But that's something that we're definitely working on and assessing on a regular basis.
Okay.
Okay, Derek, did you have a future agenda item?
Yes, one thing I want to make sure that we keep in our view is the Thimble Creek project. Ground has been broken already on a 10-acre lot there, and that's going to sneak up on us faster, maybe, than we may expect. And there's a lot of opportunity there for parks.
Is there something specific to that you would like on the agenda, or are you just asking for a general report to be brought?
Generally that. I should have mentioned something. I don't know if it was on the goals. I missed it. I've been getting information on that, but something to keep in mind, I guess, something to bring up. So not a specific agenda item at this point. Maybe I'll bring it up later when they move on a little bit farther.
Okay, well, I certainly don't want to just skim over and miss your request. I mean, if you're asking for something, we can certainly bring it. I don't want to skip over it. I mean, do you want some kind of report at the next meeting, or are you just are you saying let's table it and you'll bring it back when you're ready?
Yes.
Okay.
There's lots of hands up.
Okay. So, Sean, is your question or is your hand up about Derek's point? Okay. Go ahead.
Just a quick comment, and maybe this might help. Maybe we have an agenda item that addresses where we're at with our SDCs, because generally speaking, when we build a park like we're doing now, we start looking at how to spend the SDCs on the next item. And we know it's going to be construction of Filbert Run, but after Filbert Run, we don't have any more properties land banked. So the land banking would be in the Thimble Shoals or Park Place or Redland concept plans. So maybe just kind of a general topic in the next few months might be prudent.
And so you're thinking that might cover Derek's point, but also cover a few other things, especially as we're finishing up DC Latourette, Tyrone Woods as well.
Exactly.
Kendall, is there an opportune time or a particular time that might be more beneficial to us to hear that report? April versus June, or May, June, July? Is there a better time to bring that?
Well, right now we're also in the middle of budgets in budget season, along with the construction projects and ice storm cleanup. So I would recommend pushing it a little bit further out after budget meetings in May, to where hopefully we've closed out a couple of these parks, to where we'll have a little bit more capacity to bring some of that information back to you.
So could we say June agenda, an SDC report,
Sure.
something like that? And Derek, that'll probably cover your piece as well. Now, Derek, if you've got something specific, but I'm not going to suggest you have to wait till June. If you got something specific about that project that's maybe not SDC related, certainly let us know, because we don't want to skip over that also.
Exactly. And thanks, Sean. That was a great idea.
Karen, did you have a future agenda item? If you're talking, we can't hear you still. Still can't hear you.
Probably left her hand up.
Yeah, maybe just left your hand up. Okay, Brent, a future
So-
agenda item?
Yes, future, actually, quick question. Please excuse my ignorance. What is an SDC?
System developed charges.
Okay,
So, okay. I can go a little bit further, but like if there's a development of property, there are fees associated with the services that they're going to be using, that we get access to, that they're charged.
okay. Thank you, Kendall. I appreciate that. Future agenda item, I would like to get an update as to when Metro thinks they'll be opening up Newell Creek Park.
They told us October, I thought, didn't they?
They talked about fall this year.
Yeah.
Okay, they said that the project was behind schedule, so I didn't know if that was in line with that or if it was going to be pushed out farther.
No, it was supposed to open up this spring. It got pushed out till fall.
Okay, thank you.
I thought it was pretty close. Parking lot's good.
Yeah, they just had a few more things they had to do, and some of it was weather related. They needed to wait till some of the rain kind of settled a little bit before they could do some final things.
I saw Andy sneaking in there with his bike.
Andy, future agenda item?
Didn't we need to have a discussion on the goals calendar items? I don't know if we need to have a short
Yeah,
discussion.
let's make sure we get that on there. Kendall and Andy and Derek and I will work on that. And then Tim, future agenda item?
It disturbs me to hear the news that Oregon City does not have a land bank of future parks, but the Oregon City does have a tentative trail that wraps around the entire city. In fact, there is a dotted line that goes around all of Oregon City that the Transportation Committee has put in place. And it's like land that is developable for a park but has not been purchased. And I would love to see the city go ahead and start something on this circumnavigation around Oregon City. It would be probably a 20-mile bike path, walking path. And it's like, build it and people will come. I mean, just like Newell Canyon is going to be very popular, this would even be bigger.
So if you could bring that to an agenda item, what is it you're asking for?
I would like the city of Oregon City to start development of the Oregon City Trail that would wrap around the city.
And so are you asking as an agenda item that as PrAC, we discuss that?
I would like to know what are the next steps so that this could be a reality. And if indeed this would be a parks thing, it certainly sounds like it'd be a parks thing. Yeah, it's a lot of money. Absolutely, it is.
So
But it's like, it's there, it's in pencil on this map. I was just wondering, what does the city have to do to go ahead and, put some shovels in the ground?
I'm gonna suggest, and if this doesn't suffice, Tim, let me know, that we put that with the SDC conversation, just because, to Sean's point, if there's something next after these current parks, then that's where we as PrAC need to be advocates. That's our job, is to be citizens that advocate for parks, and not ask the city to just report to us, right? And we sit here in these meetings and get all these reports, but that's where we as active citizens get to advocate and tell the city what we would like to see. And so I think that would be a good time to listen to what we're hearing in the SDCs with, what has happened, what parks are done, and then be able to say, okay, here's, as a committee, what we think, here's some suggestions of what's next, right? And one of them can be, the trail system you're talking about. Sean?
Yeah, just another comment on that. I think it would fit in the SDC topic like he's talking about, but it's also in the Trails Master Plan is part of the Parks Master Plan, not just the Transportation Plan. In fact, I think my name's on that document from when we put that trail alignment in. And so really it comes down to, is it in our master plan? Yes. Is our master plan current? No. So it could come up in that whole discussion, which is one of our goals. So I think we're kind of hitting it on a couple elements there.
Yeah.
And yeah, Kendall?
It's something that I just want to encourage you guys to understand as well, is we are moving forward, obviously, with updating our Parks Master Plan. And that's going to include updating the SDC methodology as well. And so a lot of the direction that we're going to need is going to come from that master plan in regards to where we should be focusing on developing more parks and how we should go about utilizing our SDCs. And that's going to be a 2-year process. So that's going to take a lot of time. And obviously, PrAC's going to be heavily involved. The community is going to be heavily involved. We're going to want to get input from everyone on this master plan update. But that will help guide us towards the future in regards to development, where everyone will have the opportunity to provide input.
Perfect. Then with that, and again, Tim, tell me if you're satisfied with this, and if you're not, tell me that too, that we wait a little bit on that until number one, with the goals that we bring back with a little bit more definition next month, as far as, like we said, the timeline we're going to discuss or, bring forth. And then when we get to the master plan piece or the master plan goal, we'll address it there. Also, I think it's important we but include the SDC report. And like Kendall said, they're going to be asking us for feedback as well as other departments, and I would imagine citizens at large, at which point we can have opportunities to advocate for what you're talking about. Will that suffice for you?
Yes, I think that's great, Troy. I think that just getting the discussion started, I know it's going to take like lawyers, guns, and money to make the whole thing happen. And it's whether people are going to gift land or a right of way through their backyards to make this happen. And I know that doesn't come easy, and there's a lot of law work to that. So as long as it's on the horizon that we're talking about it, I think that's a good thing.
Perfect. Okay. I don't see any more hands. Any other future agenda items? Okay, then Thank you very much. With that, next scheduled meeting, April 22nd, for committee meeting at 7 p.m. 5:30 will be our work session, and Kendall will provide more information on that as we get closer. And with that, meeting adjourned. Thank you very much.